Welcome to Who Knew. We are fans of the current series of Doctor Who, and here we discuss our likes, dislikes, and insights into the modern regeneration of the show. Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or our YouTube channel, youtube.com/WhoKnewPodcast. All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com. You can leave comments there or email us at whoknewpodcast@gmail.com. We also have an Instagram and Twitter account. Tweet at us at whoknewpodcast. Find us on Facebook. Today's episode is episode 8 of season 9, the Zygon Inversion. Since this season is mostly two-parters, we've saved our recommendations for this episode. The Doctor and Osgood are dead. Kate and Clara are Zygons. The doubles just keep coming. 2 isn't necessarily better than 1. This episode is written by Peter Harness and Stephen Moffat, directed by Daniel Nethim. It originally aired on the 7th of November 2015 and was originally watched by 6.3 million viewers. Hi, this is Eugene. Let's introduce ourselves.
Hello, it's Kelsey again.
This is Frank.
Hi, this is Brian.
Hi, it's Josh.
Hello, this is Auburn.
Which Allburn are you? I must know.
It doesn't matter. Both.
The real Clara is trapped in a nightmare world. She hears Zygon Clara and the Doctor in the final moments before the plane had exploded. Realizing that she's connected to Zygon Clara, real Clara causes her shot to miss hitting the airplane. Zygon Clara finally gets a shot off that blows up the plane. Later, Zygon Clara follows a peaceful Zygon to his home and forces him to regain his real shape, which exposes the Zygons to humans.
I like the Nightmare World. I thought it
Me
was
too.
funny. The "This is toothpaste" was funny, and there were a couple other things. Although, what was amusing was when Clara was like, "Okay, look for the signs," so she could, I guess, tell herself that she was in a dream world. I was like, "No, you already had them. You already had the signs." But I liked the way that. So I liked the Nightmare World, but I was also thinking, I was hoping there would be more than just a place that she was in while the Zygon Clara was doing her thing. And so I was pleasantly surprised when Clara could affect, her decisions inside the Nightmare World could affect the Zygon Clara in the real world. So
Yeah, that was a cool visual representation of what they gave us in exposition, and the way that it ended last episode that we were mentioning, the way Zygon Clara fired the missile was a weird jerk to the right or the left, when now we understand why.
Yeah, no, all that. I always get a kick out of when they do dream worlds where they're not sure if it's real or not. As far as the guy turning back into a Zygon, if we were following the story well, were we supposed to know he was already a Zygon? Because when I was watching it, I was just thinking they're turning him into a Zygon, like he wasn't being revealed. It took me a while to kind of pick up on that.
She said the thing. So while they were in the apartment, she told him she's changing him back.
Maybe I didn't quite understand.
Yeah, that all happened a lot, but I mean that's where it was like both the show and she is saying something important at the time.
Yeah.
It was still creepy. Hear, but yeah, it was confusing for me too, Josh.
Yeah, I will say that by the end of the episode, I did fully understand everything that went down, but it did take a while. Real quick, Eugene, does that happen to be the same actor who was in the makeup or no?
There's 3 actors that are credited as the in-costume Zygons this episode, and he is not one of them. I didn't do too much research on that, so I don't know.
More on the confusion with that Zygon. I think some of it leads because beforehand, the exposition led me to believe everybody was a Zygon. And as he was running through the crowd of people with his groceries and freaking out, that they were all Zygons and he was the last human. And
Right.
It wasn't until the apartment that conversation happened. But up until that point, I was like, oh, this is going to be a District 9 thing where they're going to turn humans into Zygons to show us the the power of like knowing your neighbor, you're walking in your neighbor's shoes, like flip the tables over. But that's not what happened. But that could have been what happened.
More interesting.
Yeah.
I did think all the other people were Zygons because they weren't reacting.
Right.
Yeah, they were obnoxious teenagers.
Yeah. So they were the bad Zygons, but he was a good Zygon.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah.
Oh my God! Can't they just let bygones be bygones?
Zygons be Zygons?
Yeah.
One thing
That was for you, Eugene.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. One thing that Clara said in her dream state was she kept talking about dream jets, and she was looking for that. I didn't know what that meant.
I think
it took a while to try and find out. But the only thing I got was that people who interpret dreams say that if you dream of jets, it's taking control of your life. You're going somewhere, you have a direction and focus, because the jets have to go really fast and decide. So it's taking control of your life. And I think that's what she was looking for, were things that she could take control of.
I took it as she was looking in the newspaper. I took it as she remembered what just happened. So she was trying to find the jets she saw in her dream so she can connect with it through the television, like looking for the connection. So I was just dreaming about jet and the doctor was on the jet, like something like that. Because then she sees in the newspaper, I think she saw some pieces of the dialogue that Zygon Clara was having with the doctor. She was trying to connect to that moment and connect with Bonnie to where she was.
Where did she dream about jets?
Well, I think it's implied poorly that she has some residual memory because she's connected to her Zygon counterpart. Just like the Zygon is getting information from Clara, Clara is getting information from the Zygon.
Well, that I think they're trying to do with the writing, because it's always said that in a dream you can't tell the time, you can't really read.
Right, but
so
when
the stuff
she
that
was
was coming through was from the outside, and that was real.
Right, I'm just correlating it with, because we just saw a jet, and now she's talking about jets. So that's the connection.
I guess when I think of a jet, I think more of a fighter jet, not a commercial airplane. Yeah, just I didn't realize that terminology in my brain was different than in yours.
Right.
That's all. It's like, oh, okay.
And I thought she was saying, look for dream signs. So
Yeah.
Yeah, when she starts looking through the newspaper, she starts seeing different things from last episode. She sees Truth or Consequences. So she's like, I think she's sort of getting, it's your decision, doctor, it says on the newspaper. So I think she's searching for this, some semblance of what's going on with the other Clara. But she's already turned on the television. Oh, she sees it on the do we want, is this something I should?
It's okay.
We really need to figure it out.
Well, I'm just saying that they, like in the last episode, there are just a lot of things that just don't add up or make sense in the writing. In this, to have her say it seems like it would be something that the audience would know, so they'd connect to what she's saying. And it obviously didn't work on any of us.
Right. Either way.
The Doctor and Osgood are safe after parachuting to a beach. Osgood realizes that the Zygon Clara hesitated before firing, giving them extra seconds to escape. Real Clara is making Zygon Clara unconsciously text the Doctor. The text reads, "I'm awake." Real Clara is alive inside a pod and fighting back. Zygon Clara video calls the Doctor demanding to know where the Osgood box is. During the call, Real Clara is winking a message. Her pod is in a tunnel in London. The Doctor says they are on their way and for Clara to block her memories of the Osgood box. A little later, they find the Zygon that was exposed to the world. He's terrified because he's lost everything and force lightnings himself to death.
There's a little Easter egg here when Bonnie, the Zygon Clara, goes to the safe. There's a painting of the first Doctor on that safe that she opens.
I saw that, yeah, but I was wondering if it was just that it was. I was wondering if it was him or not.
Yeah, she's in a unit safe house, so there's a safe in the safe house.
Well, I'm thinking this is where Osgood would be, because there's a picture of the two Osgoods. It's got that. There's so much, and then behind Bonnie is one of the Doctor's vests.
Sixth Doctor.
The sixth Doctor, I believe.
Seventh Doctor. Sorry, Sylvester.
Yes. See, now you got me all confused. So Sylvester, I wasn't sure at first. I was like, oh, look at the behind it. And I couldn't. It's just I've seen different vests. It drove me nuts. So
You know, the big
I
thing
had
with
a
that is
couple
all the
different-
question marks.
Yeah.
But it was more of an Argyle, so I wasn't sure if it was the fifth. But I think it was more of Sylvester's.
Oh, yeah, it could have been.
But I didn't see. Yeah, so it's like I saw the bat, but it's only behind Bonnie because Clara, you can't see it. It's not the same angle.
Did Osgood and the doctor already have the conversation about question marks and the clothing, and like you used to wear question marks and like
That was in the
Yeah, that
plane.
was in the
The
plane.
last episode.
was that in the last episode? Oh.
And what's funny is that the doctor still wears question marks. We just don't see them.
And that was a good scene. I liked
hmm
it answering the questions. It helped going, no, they are the same. They're both there willingly trying to do this, so they are linked. So that helped a little bit with her dying.
Oh, and I thought of a very G.I. Joe moment when they zoom in on the parachutes from the plane exploding.
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, come on.
So that was one thing that I wanted to come on last paragraph. They didn't have time to get the pilot out, or was there an autopilot? They just
Or the other Zygon.
the
Yeah.
two of them escaped, but
And only
everybody
two
else-
parachutes was sad.
Apparently, although we did have that thing in the beginning of the season where the doctor can just get out of any circumstances, even if it takes a millisecond. But yeah, we'll just let the pilot die. We'll let the soldiers die from the previous episode. He's just kind of iffy on human life this episode.
I thought that would have been a perfect moment for the TARDIS to come in and save the day in some fashion. In fact,
TARDIS could have saved so much in this whole thing.
yeah. That's what I thought it first was, because one of the parachutes was blue and it was just this blob on the screen. I thought it was the TARDIS.
Mm.
Well, in 6 years, he runs across the pilot and goes, thank you for saving me, doctor. Oh, I guess I got to go back and do that now.
Yeah. Has he called her Nigella or Nigella?
Zygella?
Zygella yet? Because where'd that name come from? I can't figure out where he learned where she said, or he knows that that's her name.
I think he's
Well, I
just
just think
poking
it's
fun at
not.
her.
Okay.
He's combining Zygon and Delilah.
I was going to say Nigella.
Nigella. Huh. Okay. All right. Okay. So, all right. Make fun of somebody too. Okay. All right. Great, doctor. Thank you.
Yeah, because that's why she doesn't like it. She wants him to stop calling her that.
Not because she didn't like the name, just said it was a
Well, I
bad
just thought it
joke.
was weird because she comes up with Bonnie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is. Yeah.
I don't know. It just, with everything else, it confused me in this episode.
Well, I think when they
Now
had
I
to-
understand. He's like a kid on a child. He's not a kid on a playground making fun of somebody by calling them a name before he lets people die. I don't like the doctor in this episode.
Yeah. No, I think, well, her name is Bonnie because I think when they had to, look like humans, they had to pick a human name to live by. So I think that is her name, Bonnie.
Why isn't it Zy Bonnie?
Because that would be okay in LA. But those kind of names just don't usually go around everywhere. Zabani. Oh my gosh, that could be a name. Zabani.
Probably is already.
I thought for when Clara unconsciously texts the doctor, like the fact that she was able to in the air, like
I rationalize that by it's a force of will. It's Clara having the force of will to do it right, because there's
Yeah.
no way you could have done that.
No, there's no way with the touchscreen because the last time that worked was in The Departed, but you had buttons on a phone and he was typing it in his pocket, where a flat screen, you're not going to be able to do muscle memory on which button is which button.
But that
But
was a
it
good scene I liked because of Osgood. What's more human than that? They were just
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Oh, and
And he-
here,
It was for clarity for the audience
Mhm.
sake.
100%.
It's all for
100%.
us.
Yeah.
And then here we also find the doctor using a psychic paper, and he doesn't use John Smith. He uses that stupid John Disco. I don't know what's going on with the writing in these two parts.
I did like later on the change your message. It's boring now.
Yeah, was it I'm stuck in the tube or away from my phone or something?
Stuck in the tube or out in space.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And he had left like 100 messages in the last episode already.
I think it was like 175
Yeah.
and not one text. What an old man.
I did appreciate that the Osgood video also as a callback to the first episode, Cold Open. And those are always fun in the time travel TV show where you show something again and it's maybe you have different context or you have different perspective on it.
It looks very on brand for Moffat.
Mhm.
Give you this little nibble, but then there's a bigger thing that I'm retconning.
Yeah.
And it makes sense for a MacGuffin, like this Osgood box is like whatever, it's just whatever
And-
we got to look for or
Yeah, whatever it needs to
Yeah.
be as far as the script. That's why
But
they
I
named
did
it
like-
an Osgood box and not the World Destroyer.
Well, I did like that Osgood followed the Doctor's first law that they lie. It's like,
Yeah.
I gave you this coordinate. I gave you this place. Yeah, I lied. I like that. I really enjoyed it.
I wonder how many of those actors were actually American in that show besides that one.
Well, the soldier his accent was really good.
Yeah, but if you're there's plenty of people in Britain, I'm sure could do an American accent.
Well, I'm
hell
wondering,
no.
did they have Kate actually somewhere out in America? Was that a set?
When they
Uh,
were filming.
Earth and consequences? Just
it is
flying the
not.
one person out there? Okay.
I thought it might be Spain. They always go to Spain.
The one that doubled for New Mexico was somewhere in the Canary Islands. I looked that up.
It is
Go
kind
there.
of funny.
Spain.
Most of the time when they go to America, it has some sort of like Western motif to it. Like it always looks kind of warm. There's some twangy, Western music playing. Someone's wearing a cowboy hat in one show or another. Like it's always some
Like
sort
New
of,
Mexico.
right? Yeah, and
Mhm.
there's always guns involved when it has to take.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Always
yeah.
have a gun involved with Americans because that's what we do apparently.
Well, speaking of guns, the guy that played Hinchley, Todd Kramer, he's from Silver Springs, Maryland, so he's
All right.
American.
Well, he's the one that was the guy
got
who
fooled.
had.
Yeah, the one that got fooled in the last episode.
Yeah.
You,
All right,
did
we're-
you like the plan joke?
Oh, his puntasticness.
Yes. That's why I call
Eh.
the planet. Yeah, the plan.
You plan it. I'm like, I think it's because it comes off of something I already don't like, so I'm not looking like really closely at certain things.
Okay.
I don't know how to explain it other than the mood I'm in when I watch these this past week. Brian, when you cut off, did we finish that thought? Do you
Oh, I
remember?
don't
even
remember what it was. I'm sure it was some criticism of the episode.
No, that doesn't sound like you at all, or these two episodes.
Criticism,
if
criticism,
episodes
blah,
are
blah, blah,
good-
criticism.
If episodes are good, I praise.
No, that's why I
I give
said
high
these
praise.
episodes. That's why I said these episodes.
Well, there's a good 10-minute block in this episode. Well, there will be high praise. But
I agree.
I didn't need 80 minutes of
To get
build
there.
up to it.
Yeah, I agree. All right, should we just read and continue?
Well, I'm just looking at the paragraph. We
Okay.
have the force lightning of the Zygon. Again, a really kind of deep, heavy subject matter. Somebody committing suicide on TV.
Mm-hmm.
True, and I thought the actor did well. Praise. Okay.
Yes.
Criticism. That was like a very small, impactful, but very small way to show like what the Zygons were going through over the entire planet. And to me, it just didn't quite make up for stop talking, start showing. It wasn't enough for me. I needed to see it as like a group.
Yeah,
This was affecting a group of people, so I mean it's Doctor Who. You're not going to have 20 million, but at least have like a dozen.
I was gonna say that I needed that in the first episode to understand what this nightmare scenario meant to everybody involved.
Yeah, because these are humans that have seen aliens before. Granted,
So that's not
never
new.
in the best of circumstances, but I don't know. It was just kind of like, oh look, there's a rubber creature. Yeah, I guess they would freak out, but I don't think they would freak out as much as our world would. Because it's like, oh yeah, there are aliens here. Wow, they usually mean to destroy us, and then we kick their ass. So,
For me, at least, I don't know if it was a different writer, maybe I'd have a stronger feel of this, but it seems so much of anybody who doesn't fit in and is doing their best to fit in, whether that's transgender, you're a different race to pass. whether you're gay,
immigrants.
Yeah. It's like if you're documented, not documented, whatever, like people are going to look at me differently. I'm not going to fit in anymore, no matter where I go. She changed and altered it and being forced out So I see it like, yes, this is happening everywhere, but they're focusing just on the one because he's done and they're trying to help him, but they can't because everything he's saying is true. He's never going to go back to his life. It's all gone. Everything is now is going to be changed and he's being forced to make this decision. It's not, he's being forced to live this way for someone else's decision that he's going to be outed.
Also thinking of it from being in Britain during the years that this was written, it's 100% immigration.
Yeah.
I mean, they use the immigration to scare people to vote for Brexit.
Mm-hmm.
Look at how well that turned out. But because it was like, when I still get the gay motif. Yes, I know you do too. But I don't think that was their intent. I think it's just something that we pick up on as our own personal experience. But I think it was just like, this was 100%, you people are racist because you don't like immigrants. It's
yes, for sure, that's what they were going for. But I think with time, it would have been better if it was applicable to everything, like what we've been mentioning. So it's a way for you to plug it in to whatever is topical right now.
Yeah, it's I think I said this to Frank, where it's really annoying how many fans now are like, I'm not going to watch Doctor Who because it's political. And it's like, Doctor Who has always been political. But I think where Moffat and especially Chibnall gets it wrong is your first duty is to make a story, a good adventure, and then you weave in your message. That's what good science fiction does. That's almost like what good science fiction should do. But when you make the statement primary and sacrifice plot and story to it, it's just the worst. And I don't think this episode in a whole is really that bad at doing it, but I do think this subplot is. This subplot is very bonk on the head. For me, it's like, I'm surprised they didn't have the Zygon who was outed be like, Polish, because those are the immigrants that are really getting hell in Britain. So they made him like a Polish immigrant, that really would have been bonk on the head.
I think sometimes you have to be, with the issue, you have to be upfront in some of it. Because like you said,
like you ever listen to me.
A lot of people still say it's not political, it's not a social commentary, it's just sci-fi, it's a kid's show. It's like, it's more than that. So sometimes you have to go blatant in this is what's going on. And I did like that it could be your issue in it. It's not just immigration, but it is about immigration. He makes a great point about going through Brexit and all that stuff. But I can see it in different points from other people I know and myself. It's because of this. It's because of this. It's that same feeling. It's a universal feeling of alienation and never being accepted.
Yeah, I wish these two episodes had focused on that. Like, if we gotten to know Zygons that had been living on both sides of the camp within the splinter factions and the traditional factions, or whatever you want to call it, I think that would have been more powerful.
It would have been.
And that being said, I got emotional during that scene. When he was like, I just wanted a home, I just wanted to be happy, I just wanted to be myself. Yeah, I got emotional to that.
We could have seen just like little vignettes throughout. Like, if you follow like two people, but you see how their paths diverge, kind of deal. That would have been really interesting and wouldn't have taken like a lot of dialogue to do. But yeah.
Or even a quick Trinity Wells news broadcast, but just had something. I mean, they did show things happening on TV screens, but they were always in the background while the actors were in front talking, which is fine, but it doesn't help the plot or the dialogue. It's like, show something.
There was one scene where they focused on the news report. It didn't
But it was usually still kind of like in the background, a ticker going on underneath.
Yeah,
it wasn't like you used to get with Moffat or Davies era, where it's like Trinity is talking into our camera.
Right, but also too, they didn't. It was a news report that thing just happened, not as a result of that thing happening yesterday. Now other events are happening.
Right. Sorry if I look like an idiot, but my back is killing me.
I wouldn't say idiot.
Okay. Plenty of handsome idiots.
Okay. One thing I did find funny was the doctor playing with Bonnie, saying, yeah, and telling Clara things. Don't tell her this, don't tell her that. Keep your history private and buy all this, just to get into Bonnie's head, because he knows that she's going to go after her anyway, so just giving Clara something to do and again distracting Bonnie at this point where she's going to be focusing on that, where they can do other things and try and get ahead. I thought that was a little good setup.
It was funny too to see Bonnie go like this
Yeah.
and try to cover her blinking, like
Right.
Morse code blinking or whatever.
Well, the
You
thing is,
didn't
it
learn
wasn't
Morse code, did you?
Yeah. The thing it was, I have control of the eyes. And so he asked yes or no questions. And you can do that and then
Mhm.
say yes or no to it by blinking.
Oh, that reminded me of that earlier scene after Osgood and the doctor are done parachuting. They've landed. And Osgood is sort of fangirling over the doctor and knowing what the doctor is going to do. Like, oh, you're throwing words at me to get me confused, so I'm not focusing on the being distressed. And I was like, that's good. Like, we haven't,
Right.
like we said, the doctor's weapon is words before in previous incarnations, and not so much emphasized in the Moffat era, but this is one where the weapon is not necessarily a weapon for thwarting the bad guy, but a weapon to help combat fear in a companion. And I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So do the psychic glasses adjust to your vision?
Oh, Sonic glasses?
Yeah, sorry. 'Cause
I don't
switching
have
with
a
prescription
problem with
glasses,
that.
it was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Okay, I kind of like that.
Yeah.
Well, I never took them to be prescription. I took them to be sunglasses.
No, but hers. Osgood, she broke her glasses and he was going to fix them.
Oh,
Use mine while it was like, oh, changes the prescription. So, okay, that could easily
Yeah.
happen with it. Oh, okay.
I have no problem with that. That they can make you see. if it if it
Anything
can
else it can do. I liked it. I
if it
just
can
thought that
make
was
a
cute.
force field that stops massive bullets, then it can go, hey, look, I'm going to make your vision 20/20.
I really liked her observation of, like, I can't remember what she said, like, a sonic specs, or like, isn't that an oxymoron?
Yes.
Like visual hearing aid.
Right.
Like,
Yes.
right.
I invented an invisible watch. You see the design flaw, right?
And I
It's sorry. Just it's I keep learning stuff about this episode. There's a lot I don't like, but one thing that I think I do like is every single scene between Clara and the Doctor. Clara and the Doctor in this are really, really good.
You know why?
Because it's the old
separated.
Claras.
Oh,
Old Clara.
I was just gonna say they're separated.
They talk to each other a lot.
No, they do.
Evil Clara too.
Yes, no.
That
no,
all
no,
works
no.
for me.
But they're not in the same frame. And this
All
has
right.
happened. This has happened before. The time when Clara was locked in the TARDIS, the time when I feel, at least for me, I like every episode of Capaldi's Doctor and Clara when they are not in the same frame. When circumstances have separated them, and they're kind of on their own adventure, but they do talk to each other through like phones or TV screens or whatever. I like that dynamic.
Well, I think it's because of where Clara is in her journey, because she is interchangeable with the Doctor as far as plot is concerned in these past couple of episodes. So when there are two doctors in a scene, that's why the scene doesn't work, because you don't have a Doctor and a companion. So when they have to split up the Doctor's duties, they split up the companion and the Doctor, and I think that's why that works.
But on top of that, though, is I really, really, number one, dislike Clara when she's off on her own with no connection to the Doctor. Because then she's like, I am the Doctor. I'm going to out-doctor the Doctor. But it is kind of interesting when you say when they're split up and yet talking to each other. And I'm wondering if that's an actor thing. If just the chemistry of the two actors in the room didn't match up to the chemistry of them talking to the off-screen script supervisor. I mean, how do you act against Capaldi instead of the script supervisor who's like, just be kind to one another? But they're so good. And Clara, even when Clara in these two episodes, even when Clara is by herself, she's still not new, annoying Clara. What'd you say, Frank? She's very much like the snowman. Clara.
She's very smart, very clever. She's constantly thinking of how to fix things or get around things or looking for the way through it. So, I mean, this is the Clara that I've liked in so many different incarnations of her. But lately, and this season, a lot of it is she's becoming too big, and she's gonna make a big fall because of I don't know. I keep saying, I think 3 or 4 times when it started, and I keep going, well, no, this is where it's at. No, this is it. Well, maybe it was with Danny. I mean, did they reference, oh, I lost it. Were they referencing Danny when we first started having this conversation? Oh, God, it went out of my head.
No, I don't think
The
so.
pen ran out of ink.
In these
Yeah,
two
sure.
episodes? No, I
Yeah.
don't think they were. I don't think they were referencing Danny at all.
No, not in these 2 episodes.
When you guys were talking, it was something, but my pen ran out of ink, and so I wasn't able to write it down. Now I can't remember.
When he was telling her, don't think about this. Don't let her into your head. Is that the part you're talking about?
If I remember, I'll let you know. Shoot.
But
It was a good point. But I can't remember.
I agree with that. I don't think they mentioned Danny at all.
Well, they don't mention it, but there was like something that happened that what they said made me think of Danny. It's like, oh, this could be a reference to him without naming him specifically. But I just don't remember what it was. If I could listen to the whole thing over again, I could remember. But it was something you guys said that made me
All
think
right, break
that was
for an
about-
hour and a half.
That was about, that could have been a reference to Danny, and I can't remember now what it was. Bugger. Never mind. Sorry.
Well, keep thinking.
Did you just say bugger?
No.
Yay, he's getting British. He's getting British.
It just came out.
Oh,
Sorry.
bugger all.
Yeah, how about I just keep reading and then you think about it and might jog your memory.
I'll have to go watch it again and then let you know.
All right.
Eugene wants to move on.
We are.
No, because I don't think you're gonna remember. That's why I'm like,
Yeah,
let's
you
say
gotta get
I
your mind
won't.
off of it.
No, I
Yeah.
won't.
Zygon Clara confronts real Clara to get the information and realizes that they can't lie to each other. Clara reveals that the Osgood box is in Unit's Black Archive, and the box contains a button that will reveal every Zygon on the planet for an hour, escalating into an all-out war. Real Clara says she will talk to Zygon Clara once she's got the box, and this fact keeps her alive. Kate Zygon arrives and is ordered to find the doctor and try to replicate him. Zygon Clara takes Real Clara into the Black Archive.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah, I'll lie. It's not that people. I'm an anxious, nervous wreck. You can't tell anything from my heartbeat other than how am I still alive because it's beating so fast. It's like
I mean, a polygraph test works by measuring your heart rate as well as your breath.
but they don't. I've been polygraphed and it was wrong.
Well, I'm just saying that in theory, that's one
Right.
of the things.
And it's a device to move the plot along. I get it, but then the other thing that gets me is you can't tell me a lie, Clara. So tell me where the box is. Clara's response at that point is still, "I'm not going to tell you. Why do I need to tell you? Just because you don't think I can lie? I didn't tell you before. I'm not going to tell you now. I am calling your bluff. I don't think you're going to kill me either way. But
she
because
took
it's like, huh?
But she knew the other person wasn't lying. She goes, I'm done with this. I am going to kill you if you do not answer. You can tell I'm not lying.
Oh, that's true, but still.
Because before it
If
may
it's
have been a
that
bluff.
important, Clara, die. I don't know. It seemed too easy to me.
Yeah, it seemed pretty gimmicky and
Gimmicky, better word.
it seemed like, even though I was sort of arguing your point against your point, like it is a bit like, adolescent thinking, like, I'm gonna know that you're lying because I'm gonna feel your heart rate. I heard that on a TV show.
I think it was one of those things that it came up in the writer's room and they were like, that's a good idea. And then they just kept going with it.
No,
I
mean,
liked it. I
didn't
liked
mind.
it.
Well, then
And
Frank, you win.
Not just like feeling
No,
so
I'm
much-
alone. Everybody else doesn't like it, fine. But I liked it because they did show that when she asked her something that Clara reacted to, not on her face or anything, but so I hit a nerve there. I can feel your heartbeat. I can feel our heartbeats racing at this point. So there's truth to that. So she can gauge it. They showed that she can gauge it. And I love the part where Clara says, I can't tell you. I can't give it to you. Telling the truth. And Clara knowing and being smart enough, knowing that he's going to read that's the truth, because I can't, because she already has it. But she doesn't complete that sentence. She goes, I can't give it to you. I can't give it to you. And I'm telling the truth. So the other Clara figures it out, but I like the banter between them. I liked Clara trying to figure it out and how to answer and still working on it. So.
It was good dialogue, and even though it is silly, it's it is better to have something that shows that there's a connection rather than just tells
Right.
us there's a
Right.
connection. So
Yes,
Right.
I agree.
I mean,
even
if it
though it
was-
was silly, it was
It
still
was
fun.
showing, but
Yeah.
it's so you can see it.
Yeah.
I mean, if you wanted to be real, more sci-fi about it, or it was animated or something, like her finger would have like turned into a suction cup, like a Zygon suction cup or something like that. I was like, oh, it's because she's an alien. She's able to feel, this, that, or the other. So
Yeah.
to
Or
me,
they could have had. Go ahead, Josh.
that was less of a stretch to me than alien doppelganging bodies. It's the alien invasion set the other. Like, okay, she can feel a heartbeat. Like that's okay.
Quick, cheap, simple. We've got to get them to the Black Archive. So
Right.
oh, and before we move on, it's like, okay, who did Jenna, the actress, which writer did she annoy? Because they keep shoving her into tiny little things. You've been inside a Dalek twice, once literally for God knows how many days, and this, in a slimy pod for God knows how many days. It's just like, why do they keep doing this to her?
Do you have the bios, Eugene, the heights of the different companions ready?
Yeah,
Yeah.
she's like
I-
5 something.
And
Yeah,
I am assuming Karen Gillan was taller, like she was.
She's like 6'1".
she's
Yeah.
very tall.
I think
So
she's like 5'10".
I looked
5'11".
ridiculous standing next to her.
they probably
Yeah,
had all
Jen-
these gags they
Yeah.
wanted to do and couldn't do until they got somebody
Yeah.
that fits all the props.
Jenna Coleman is 5'2".
Oh dang.
That's my mom's saying.
That's short. That's not unusually short.
No, but when you're standing, like, I did actually notice a height difference when she hugs Oswald at the end. Because
Yeah.
at first it made it seem like Oswald was like 6'2".
Osgood.
And then I'm like going, oh, Osgood. I do that all the time. I thought she was like huge. And then I was like, oh no, Jenna's just really, really tiny, so.
Yeah, Karen Gillan is 5'10".
Okay.
Oh, it seems a lot taller when you're short.
And there is no bio on Ingrid Oliver's height. With who plays Osgood,
Oh.
so I don't have that.
Going back to the discussion between Bonnie and Clara, Clara did try to say, I can't tell you, but that failed because Bonnie figured it out. But then at the end, she's like, no, you're not going to kill me. And you can tell I'm not lying. And it's because you're going to want to talk to me after you see what's going on. So I like that where she's able to save herself and delay it even longer. But I don't understand why they took the pod with them.
Yeah, I thought that same thing.
It's just later on they needed her to be over there so the doctor couldn't find her. But it's not like anything in the story. It's just like they had to move her at one point.
Yeah,
Well,
And
just
I'll-
I thought just take her out of the pod.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you were connected already. I don't think she needed to be in the pod to be connected.
It might have been
Yeah.
Moffat just writing a trap door just in case he wanted to put her back in.
It's just, they just like, we're going to an entire new set for 5 days. Keep her in the pod.
Well, I mean, the logic of it may just be like she wouldn't they transported her in the pod so she didn't deal with her resisting.
Good point.
Is this at the end of this like lie detector scene, is that also where Bonnie says that she wants a war? Like is that a question that Clara asks her? Like, what is it that you want?
Yeah, Clara's trying to talk to her about that.
Okay. I thought that was really, powerful to hear, like this other faction, like they don't want peace. It makes their motivation, it makes their downfall, a little bit easier for the audience, I think, to hear that they are just
like one-dimensional bad guys.
right. Yeah. They're terrorists. But that's
They don't care about everybody they're fighting for. They're just terrorists.
right.
Because she even asked her, what about your own? It was like they're all traitors.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Which
So
in a
may-
way is more terrifying to contemplate than
Yeah.
it's like you really don't have a cause, because most of the people don't want to have that cause, which comes up later in the speech.
Hmm.
But that's just it. It's their cause. And that's just from the other point of view. It's like they can't get it any other way. They've tried talking to their own people. That's why they splintered off in the first place. So their ideology surpasses anything else. And they lose track where that's the only thing, rather than any kind of humanity or anything else. And it just gets focused on, no, we have to do this. And we've tried other ways. Violence is the answer. the last choice, last answer, and you're just all in when you give the violence. I've seen a lot of negotiation shows about that, I guess.
They all need talking sticks. Just have a talking stick and everything get along.
I
Or
keep saying that.
I hated those sessions with the talking stick. You were there with
You're
me,
not
Brian.
supposed to beat people with it. So you're the one who's talking.
When did we have a talking stick? Sorry, guys.
With the Covey 7 Habits of Highly Effective
Oh.
People.
Oh, Christ. Oh, yeah. Okay,
See?
sorry. Yeah, that was infuriating.
I'll be cutting that out.
Kate Zygon finds the doctor and Osgood and leads them to where Clara's pod is. The doctor is not fooled, but that's where he wanted to go anyway. Kate Zygon gets a call from Zygon Clara. She's found the Osgood box, and there are actually 2 of them. The doctor said, well, what did you expect? One box normalizes all the Zygons. The other destroys them. Zygon Clara releases real Clara from her pod and threatens to kill her. The doctor tells her the blue box will normalize her people, and she opens it to reveal 2 buttons labeled Truth and Consequences. The red box is the same.
Oh, so that reminds me, I forgot to do this in last episode, but Truth and Consequences, where they were in New Mexico, is a real place. Clara was right that it was renamed. So Truth or Consequences is an American game show. It was originally an NBC radio show from 1940 to 1957. And the original city's name in New Mexico was Hot Springs. They changed it to Truth or Consequences as a result of the radio show's contest. And then in March 1950, it was renamed with Ralph Edwards being the host at the time.
What was it renamed to?
Truth or
Truth or
Consequences.
Oh,
It was literally renamed that.
Yeah. And then I didn't know about this show, but it kept going from the original run, 1940 to 1957. And then from 1950 to 1954, and then 56, and then 56 to 75, and then it became a TV show in 1987 to 1988. I didn't know that.
Yeah, we grew up with it.
I'm assuming that the contest prize was you get to name your town that? Is that what? Like,
No, I think it was the thing they had to do to get the radio show to broadcast from there.
You had to be the first one to change the name of your town to Truth and Consequences, and we'll come
the first
into a
one.
radio show from there.
Well, good for
See,
them.
and up until this point, for me, and it might be another problem I have with the whole episode, but this is just me. Whenever they would say Truth or Consequences, my brain immediately went to the game show. So I never literally thought the meaning of the actual words. Like, now in this part, you find out what Truth or Consequences means, but always before it wasn't like, why are what do they mean, Truth or Consequences? It was more, why are they referencing Truth or Consequences? And I couldn't get out of that until they actually revealed what it was. And it still took me a couple times to go, oh, that's why they're doing it. In fact, that's kind of why I left it out of the previous synopsis, because there was just too much going on.
Oh,
And
yeah.
partly is because it bugged the heck out of me these times of hearing me talk about it. So
Somebody
You're a new
got a
audience.
little focused.
You're a new audience. I don't understand why they used Truth or Consequences. I understand it with the ending, and if they would have just left it as that and the mantra that the Zygons were saying could have worked. But to bring in the game show, to bring in the city, the town, and make that something, why was that happening? It just sort of, they used it too many times for it not to be coherent as to what it was. It was like you go back at the John Saxon, oh, they laid it down all the time. This is what it's going towards. This was overly used, and I don't get why they used Truth or Consequences. Was it just a joke, not meaning anything? But when you hear the very ending of this, it's like even got me more going, I just didn't like.
It's the way Moffat writes, I think. The parts that you like about his wordplay, but then in this case, it's not done so well.
Right, because it's so predominant. It wasn't just a nice little 2 ways to take something, 2 meanings.
Yeah, because even when they're in New Mexico, there's nothing that's gained other than the exposition of it crossed over into America. Like, there's not a black archive there. There's nothing that, why is Osgood there? Why is Kate there?
Yeah, you could totally take the whole New Mexico part out. I mean, you could also take the whole Turkmenistan part out too, and do like one quicker scene of them rescuing Osgood. But But I didn't have a problem with the truth or consequences, like Frank did.
On the boxes, or in general, just in general.
The wordplay.
So
the
much of it.
wordplay, because
Yeah.
for me it was just the Zygon saying, "We will live our truth, or there will be consequences," and it just kind of grew from there into this town in Mexico and all this kind of stuff, where it was like, I'm just letting that overkill
But
go.
when Clara brings up the town, the doctor looks at her very strangely. Kind of, what are you talking about, or what are you doing? Why are you saying that? But you don't know why. It's like, is she supposed to keep her mouth shut? Does she know that? But it just seemed a reason for it that we never get.
Yes, I would agree with that.
I mean, following the logic of it, it's a total coincidence because the Zygons don't know what's on the boxes. They're using truth or consequences as their mantra, and they choose this town, because it has the name of their mantra or whatever, but they have no clue to what's on the boxes. So there's no logic bridging that gap besides a coincidence.
Yep.
Right. And they could have put their mantra after the town name. I mean, it could go either direction.
Oh yeah, either way regarding that, but like the choice of going to that town had nothing to do with what's on the boxes. But the reason it's in the show is to bridge it to that.
Right, which is like if they went to Albuquerque, would that be their mantra? And would it be Albert and Kirky on the two different buttons?
Right.
The doctor must have went back and orchestrated it all so that way they would go to that town and use that as their mantra.
Okay, but then the doctor did kill everybody in that town unknowingly by putting not yes and no, but putting truth and consequences on there. It was indirectly, he sets, well, when you're traveling through time, you have to be careful of that.
He made a Pavlovian response in these creatures to seek out truth or consequences. So I think he did sign the death warrant for all those people in that town.
So speaking of that, with the mind wipe of how many times they've done this, we first saw that in the Day of the Doctor, and I feel like it's a crutch for Moffat's writing. It's a fallback. Like, let me just retcon everything, like this whole Zygon treaty, armistice, peace treaty thing. When was that? Oh, you agreed to it, but then we mind wiped you after you agreed to it. I'm like, oh, come on.
And you agreed to be mind wiped.
Yeah.
I'm like, that catches everything, but it catches everything, and I don't like that when it's a Deus Ex Machina this early on and not at the very end.
I don't like it. I ignore it. He didn't say it. And it all still works.
Yeah, and I took it to mean just at that table for that negotiation, not that the whole rebellion has been happening 15 times. But I like both readings of it.
Yeah, I do have to say, originally for me, it was like, well, it was 15 times, like you said, at that table, at that time.
Okay. Not the nightmare scenario 15 times.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and again, like it was said, the doctor is letting the scenario build up again to where people die and then solves it.
Yeah,
and it's like, and it's also, if you've done this 16 times, your plan sucked. Change it.
Yeah, maybe don't wipe their minds so they remember the conversations they had at the negotiation table, the thing that stopped them from pressing the buttons. That's something they should. If you don't know history, you're doomed to repeat it. He's wiping their history.
Well, I kind of take that as he's pleading a case each time, and it didn't work. Oh, before they press the buttons, let me wait. Never mind. All right, how do I say this differently? All right, how do I say this differently? And it's taken 15 times for him to say the right thing, use the right words for them to finally get it.
Big risk, though.
Oh, sure. But like, when this has been done previously in sci-fi, like Star Trek would be the best example, most current example of a time loop. You have to show us that we've gone through this and what has changed. Or I feel like, again, it's telling us, not showing us, oh, we've done this 15 times.
Yeah.
Okay, I trust you, I guess. So,
or make the reveal be really worthwhile.
Yeah, and that
really,
that was
they didn't make anything of it. He just says it and then boom. But you could totally have it be like, okay, this is the 16th round, and surprise us with it at the end. If you then made a point, what's your point? What changed? What did you learn?
And see, the other recent example I can think of is the end of Loki season 2, where it's going through all of that, I don't know. It's been out for a while, so spoilers coming up with the time loom or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's learning. He's gone through centuries. He's learned that this is how to do this. This is how to do this faster, so that I could get there. But then ultimately learns that it's inevitable. So
You saw it.
you saw the pathos in him trying to fix it, and it didn't work.
Yeah.
Where with this, we're just told that. So there's a difference.
Like he wakes their mind, goes back a little bit, and then they committed the thing. So they've been doing this same thing 14 times, 15 times. Not over the period of time, just right now. Okay, let's try this again. I said it wrong. Reset.
You don't have a TARDIS, Frank. I don't know how you're trying to accomplish this.
Well, it makes as much sense as 15 times other times.
Yeah.
And remember though, when they sit at the thing at the table, he already knows Clara's alive. So he wouldn't think during that month of resetting at the table that she's dead. But it felt like a month.
Regardless, we're sitting here for a month trying to figure out what they meant when they could have just written it a little bit more specific or shown.
Yes.
Absolutely. Of course, Kate Zygon is really real Kate. Thank goodness she had a gun. Now she uses it to kill the Zygon guards, and she wants to use the red box to kill the Zygons. They all meet in the box room. Zygon Clara and real Kate each stand at the box and want to know truth or consequences. The doctor reveals the full plan. One button on Kate's box will release the gas and kill all Zygons, and the other will explode a bomb that destroys all of London. Zygon Clara's box has a button to unmask all the Zygons and another to end their ability to shapeshift, leaving them humans forever. It's time to decide. Then the doctor starts the speech. Break the cycle. Choose peace. Talk to each other.
But before we get to the speech, it's like, this is where it's like bloodthirsty Kate. You know, it's like, well, how did you escape? Well, what did she say? 5 rounds, rapid.
Okay, so do you know about that?
No. Is it like a sniper? Is that what it really is?
No.
Stinger.
No.
Sorry, Stinger. But she does kind of say it with a glee.
Yes, because it's another Easter egg. So in her flashback, the gunfire is a phrase that her father said, and he said it in the demons or the daemons in that story. So it's a deep cut, but used in a way that I don't like the characterization of Kate.
Okay, perfect.
So again,
at
like
least it explains why they did it.
But again, like the Harry Sullivan Easter egg last episode, it's like I don't agree with this.
Yeah, this is. Remember how we were saying Moffat just continues to get too fanboy. His
But not
Easter
in a good
eggs
way.
become in a terrible way.
Yeah.
It becomes deeper and deeper and deeper, and Alpha Centauri, and you're like, why? Stop it.
So that one's a deep cut. I had to look that up. I've never seen the daemons, but
it seemed very out of place.
Yeah, and the flashback again was convenient.
And then she also brings up the gas and literally calls it Sullivan's gas, making it clear it's
the Z67.
Clear that it's Sullivan's creation. And it's like, I don't know. It's like when they almost made Saavik a bad guy in Star Trek 6. It's like, it's okay to have a Vulcan bad guy. It's not Saavik. I'm glad that didn't happen.
Is Peter Capaldi doing an American accent at some points during this?
Yes, he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like fingers on the buttons.
The gun tootin', let's destroy everything.
And I think whenever he calls somebody sweetheart, that's an American accent.
Yeah.
Or a southern accent.
Kind of hard to tell.
Well, that's American.
Okay, yeah. But no,
lots of places have a south.
And I think, as an American audience, it often does go over my head, because I'm not paying that close attention. But I think, probably would have had more impact to the original British audience. Like, they probably would have gotten it quicker than I did, right?
See, I was able to get it because it was Southern. It was like, he's gone Southern, he's doing the rootin' tootin' American.
But there's still a lot of whatever original Peter Capaldi was in it.
Well, yeah, it's so over the top. So,
yeah.
Oh, I love the speech.
Yeah, and then a callback to the moment from the Day of the Doctor, a button being pushed, and then now we're having 2 buttons decidedly being pushed or not being pushed.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a connecting thing, but I don't know if I like it as much.
Well, you would if it wasn't there if it wasn't there, we would all be saying there should have been some mention of it
Well, let me
because
rephrase.
it's his exact same scenario.
Yeah, but let me rephrase then. I don't like the build up to this moment because I don't feel like I'm feeling what the writers intended.
How so?
We went through all of that for this. Like, can we just get to this speech?
Oh yeah, it's a
Yeah,
terribly
that's what
written
I mean.
episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like we didn't need to sit through 80 minutes of crap.
Yeah, like the scales are not balanced, is what I'm trying to say.
Right. Yes, totally. But
This wasn't earned.
right.
As I felt that the writers thought it was earned.
Oh yeah, absolutely, totally agree.
These two parts shine because of this. That's it.
He just goes through so much where it's like, you don't know who's going to die. Kids are going to die. And in the end, you're just going to do what you could do right now and sit down and talk. Yes, I do know what you're feeling. I had to do the same thing on a much grander scale. And I don't want you to do what I did because no one should have to live with that pain. And I'm not going to let anybody else live with that pain. It's just, and there's also right in the beginning when it really starts to go, right? Like he kind of ramps up a little bit and then he goes on to the speech. There's a quick shot of real Clara and you can kind of see in her eyes where she's like, that's it, he's got it. She knows at that point, it's like, there he is, he shows up, he says everything. And then he goes through the entire speech. And I liked that little cutaway.
Yeah, I wish the production and the crew and maybe the shot setups and things, they would have done more things like that throughout these two episodes. Because a lot of it felt like it could be cut.
Yeah, but a lot of, especially in this season, is we are writing a plot only to get to a Capaldi speech. It's the only reason why these episodes exist. Like in the Shieldor Me 2 episodes, it's like the first one exists to get him to say, now I know why I have this face. That whole speech. It's like, that's kind of like, okay, we get to see Capaldi act. And it's like, again, this is like the epitome of that. And so it is just kind of like, no, you need to write good stuff as well as good speeches. So.
Yeah, it feels like they spent all the time on the speech, but not the plots to get us there logically.
Right.
I wrote down, or I found it on the internet, the speech, and I want to read the part that I thought Capaldi did the best at. He's talking about all the Time War and all of that. I did worse things than you could ever imagine. When I close my eyes, I hear more screams than anyone could ever be able to count. And do you know what you do with all that pain? Shall I tell you where to put it? You hold it tight till it burns your hand. And you say this, no one else will ever have to live like this. I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
Because when he's going down that route, I'm like, you what do you do with that pain? You use it to like motivate you. That's usually where it goes. But when he goes, you hold it tight until it burns your hand. I was like, oh, good job.
Yeah.
Good job taking us down an alley that we're familiar with and making a left or right hand turn.
Yeah, and then some of the lighthearted moments where he's like, I can't remember exactly, but isn't it listening just means changing your mind? And then also the I don't want to change my mind, then you'll die stupid. Or something like that. It's like that was really good. And then at the very, very end. Plus also watching Capaldi reacting to Bonnie talking was great too. And at the end when he's like really close and just kind of staring at her and he just gets his smile and says, gotcha. That was great. And then she's like, well, how do you know? And he's like, because I know that face. It's like, okay, bravo. Yeah, it's a little bow on top of the speech. Just love it.
Yeah, is that the one where she goes, what happened? Same thing that happened to you. I let Clara inside my head.
I let Clara inside my head.
Trust me, she doesn't leave.
Yeah. Yeah. And yes, that's right. Yeah. Back in the 50th, I let Clara inside my head. Because Clara, if you remember, Clara is the one that says, this isn't what you do. You figure out a way, be the doctor.
It's a shame that there are moments like this that do shine, but they are not consistent with the stuff before and after that lead up to this moment.
That's why we have fast forward buttons.
That's also why we have a podcast, so we can praise the
Yeah.
praiseworthy things and talk about the other stuff.
I actually am going to send my brother he watched that new Peter Capaldi show where he's the bad racist cop. And I said, oh, yeah, well, that's the doctor. And he's like, what? I'm like, that's the doctor. And he goes, God, I can't picture him as the doctor. And I'm going to send him this clip and go, okay, here's Peter Capaldi. And then I'm also at the same time going to send him a clip from The Thick of It where he plays Malcolm, whose every other word is he plays this just harsh Scottishman in the government. And he's like, you will do what I tell you, and you will sit in your butt, and you won't ever question me ever again. It's like the two sides of Peter Capaldi.
You guys remember the movie War Games?
Oh yeah.
Yes, I love war games.
So like the end of this really reminded me of just that whole scenario as well.
Yeah.
So like I
don't play the game.
Yeah. I mean, I like these episodes, but I do agree that the what the hell is it called? The Black Room? What is it called?
Black Archive.
Yeah, that's I do agree that the Black Archive sequence is the best part of this whole storyline. But as I was figuring out what was going on, because War Games was the first time in my life that I understood that train of thought. Like, it was the first thing I ever saw that talked about that. So it's kind of an age-old a discussion to me. So I was like, well, here we are. And this is going to sound bad the way I say it. It's like, well, here we are again, another telling of this story. But I like the way they did it. But
I like how they use for that they use Kate. This isn't a game.
Yeah. No. I mean,
it's great.
Right. It worked.
And that wasn't a critique of you. It was just that was the part.
But that's what I think clued me in when I was watching it. That when he said that to her, and I was like, oh yeah, this is just. I was gonna say this is just War Games, but it's not. I don't mean to say it's just War Games. Like, this isn't any good. The incarnations of that argument, how they happen over and over the years.
Yeah.
I also love when she closes the box. He is so heartfeltly saying thank you.
Right.
And he says it a couple times. It's really he puts so much weight into that thank you.
Well, and I love the way, like you were mentioning, like when he smiles at her when he knows he's got her.
Yeah.
It's like the softest smile of a face that he's had on the whole series so far.
Yeah. And I think the weakest part of the speech is where she says, you really think they'll forgive me for what I've done? And it's like, all of a sudden, it was to me, it kind of came out of left field, because it's like, all of a sudden she was specifically asking about herself alone. And she hadn't really done that before. But it's followed up by, well, here's something that's going to surprise you. I forgive you. And then it launches into his whole just forgive people, be kind. And it's like, oh. Personally, I love the speech.
Oh, I don't think anybody's arguing with you there.
Frank's got his head down.
No. That has nothing to do with that. I think it was a great speech. I really like it. Don't get me wrong. I was looking for other things on the internet when I was trying to find it. But no, I like the speech. I think it's done really well. The whole, you got to break the cycle somehow, and that's the hardest thing that we can do.
Yeah,
and
break
you
the
see that
cycle
over and over again in all these different conflicts and all these different wars and what's going on now. And it's still.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is still a very relevant speech.
I think Jenna Coleman gives a really great performance in this scene as well, because she plays this character very subtly. It's somewhat Clara-esque, but once she isn't pretending to be Clara anymore throughout the episodes. But like this here, she goes through a whole 180, and it's all played out on her face, and none of it is exaggerated. But you really believe every moment that she's having. So. It's funny. It's just as strong of a performance, I think, as Capaldi, but it's the exact opposite in energy. Like, he's over the top, but not in a overacting way. And she's as still as possible, and they are both just as emotional.
Yeah,
totally agree.
Brian, when you said it was about her, when she says, "How would anybody forgive me?"
Yeah,
you don't mean selfishly, right?
Yes, I do.
I didn't get that. I felt more after everything I did and committed for what I really thought was right. How can I move on from this? How can anybody move on from this? Not just will they forgive me? It's that if I look at it from your way, there's no way I can get out of this. There's no way I can ever ask for forgiveness or do anything to make up for all the stuff I've done.
But I don't think I see that, and that's much more effective. I don't think it's written that way.
I do, because then I think when he says he forgives, it's like it's not yours to let us forgive you or not. It's up to us.
Right.
And it's
I think it's
impactful.
It would have totally worked for me if she said, "How could they forgive us if we from what we've done after what we've done?"
Again, we're going back into the script we think needed somebody else to.
Yeah, and that's my entire point. I don't have a problem with the sentiment, but to me, it just makes it feel like she's suddenly just talking about herself, and it's like and she's never done that before, and she doesn't do it after. It just kind of like comes out of nowhere, and I'm going, it's badly written because it only exists so that Peter Capaldi can look her right in the face and say, "I forgive you." But I still think he could have done that.
Right.
If she said, "How will they ever forgive us?" And he could still he could say the exact same words. "You know what? Here's a surprise. I forgive you." It still works. Suddenly, the War Doctor decides it's time to go back to his main plot, and that's the end of the Zygon plot. Now, wouldn't that be annoying? Kate decides to close the box. The Doctor has convinced her that no one wins by using either of them. Zygon Clara says the boxes are empty, aren't they? There's nothing inside either one. Of course, the Doctor says. And you realizing that means you're starting to think like me. And he looks at her and says, "Gotcha." The Doctor wipes Kate's memory of the empty boxes, but leaves Zygon Clara with hers. She tells everyone that the ceasefire is back in place and they are all safe. The Doctor offers Osgood to join them in the TARDIS. She says she has to stay and watch some boxes. He asks her when will she tell him which one she is, and another Osgood walks up and says when it doesn't matter anymore. Zygon Clara has taken over Osgood's role of defending the Earth.
I just realized this, but I really like that this didn't end with the Doctor destroying an alien race or destroying Bonnie, the Zygon. Because I feel like in a lot of the Doctor Who episodes, he always is like, if you would have just done what I asked, or I would have been fair, I would have been lenient, I would have forgiven you, and now I have to kill you because so it was nice to see. I just like that this is the side that we don't get to see that often, is the Doctor getting to forgive this person who did all these terrible things for 2 episodes.
Yeah, and
he invites her along,
and she declines. That's so good.
And it makes sense that she declines. But
absolutely.
She should just get another Zygon to turn into her so she could go. All the Osgoods.
So visually, I got the impression that the Zygon Osgood basically morphed out of the woman that was there and when it came up, because it didn't, the way they did it didn't seem like she was entering from anywhere. Did anyone else get that impression?
Yeah, it was like he would have seen her walking up.
Yeah, the first time, yes.
Oh.
I mean, I don't think she morphed out. I do think she just walked up, but it was just bad camera work, bad writing, staging, blocking, everything. Because the Doctor totally would have seen her walking up, but I think that's just a production thing.
Yeah, there is a moment.
Compositing said to put it on one side rather than have her walk on the other.
And did you guys also notice that the Clara that was there at the beginning of the scene had her glasses were taped because the Doctor fixed them?
Osgood.
Yeah, and then when Osgood shows up, her glasses are fine. So one of them has broken glasses.
Yeah, and just to confirm, that second Osgood is Bonnie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Unless they've switched.
Yeah. Right, exactly.
They switched glasses, yeah.
Yep.
And one of those, because I was like, well, now they're both just Zygons. It's like, oh no, that could still be Osgood.
Right.
And apparently the cycle doesn't break, so we'll never know.
Right.
And then we also have a funny line here where the TARDIS, yes, what does it stand for? What, are you kidding me? Surely you know that.
Yeah.
Well, I've heard a couple different versions. I made it up from the initials. It stands for totally and radically driving in space. I thought that was a nice, another bait and switch.
Yeah.
Or
I
she
do
knows
also
what it
like that he
means.
asked Clara to go away.
Yeah.
There's just a little part of me that's just kind of like, go inside, honey. Adults are talking. It's that that's only just guilty pleasure of, yeah, see, Clara, you're not the doctor. I like that.
Yeah.
Is this the last time that we see Osgood in Doctor Who, or does the actor come back for anything else?
I think this
Character
is it.
Yeah, I
this
think
is
this
it.
is it as well.
So far.
so far. Yeah.
They would just have to reopen the whole Zygon thing again. And I don't think fans like it that much.
I'm sure if he had a reason to do it, he'd do it.
Yeah.
When she's Moffat's creation, not
Yeah.
Davies. Okay. So we probably won't see her in the next era.
Probably not.
Right.
Yeah, this is her last credited Doctor Who TV episode.
Okay.
Ingrid Oliver, that is.
All right. I still like what they did with her character throughout the whole these two episodes. Even though I feel like the first time I watched through it, I probably did not like it, but I don't know. I'm glad that some version of that character lives.
Oh, I hated these two when I first saw them, and I didn't rewatch these two episodes until this week.
That's me next week.
Yeah, time has been kind to my opinion of these episodes.
I've just really fallen in love with the speech.
But Eugene, I did not like the ending joke about the TARDIS.
We are on track, Frank. Me and you.
I just thought it was, it was a silly, fun line, but the whole build up to it was, well, she knows what that is, and what other options did she hear? I was like, if she would have given a couple of those, and then him just giving this back would have been better. But it's just.
See, I like the joke as this huge, gigantic fangirl of the Doctor. The one thing is she doesn't know what the TARDIS stands for. But for me, it's like I see it as, Frank, you've seen me where it's like I'm watching something in Star Trek and it's like, wait, I didn't know that. And it's like, wait, how can there be something in Star Trek that I don't know? And it just happens, you can't know everything. And so it is just kind of funny to me where it's like this ultimate fangirl doesn't know what the TARDIS stands for. That's kind of funny. And I truly believe she doesn't know what it means. I truly believe that. She doesn't know what it means.
Or she's dived too deeply, like you said, and probably one of the answers that she's come across is the correct one, but then continued down the rabbit hole and came up with, other conspiracy theories, like the Doctor accumulates those people that, opine on him.
Yeah, she went too deep and got confused.
And to me, it was more just an Epcot joke. What does Epcot stand for? Because there are so many that people come up with. So there are ones that the fandom can go to and know and get the joke of it, and he comes up with something else, which is fine. But the TARDIS never had that alternate ones that I know of. So for me, it was like, oh, I didn't like that ending. But that's me. You can laugh, keep laughing. You can laugh at the joke. It was fine.
We wouldn't want you any other way, Frank. So on the Doctor Who Extra, Moffat mentioned that this idea of the Zygons and this sort of allegory was something he came up with prior to the Day of the Doctor, the 50th. And so he just kind of started that, made it work for the 50th, and then went back and fleshed out his idea in these two episodes. So I kind of think he was just a little too attached to this idea, and not to let, if you're having these hallmarks of this idea, he wouldn't let go in service of the story. That's how I feel. Because the way he was talking about it on that extra is like, I had this idea from ages ago. I wanted to do it. I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't mean you have to do it.
Is that a Doctor Who Confidential?
There's no more Confidential at this point. They're just Doctor Who Extras.
Okay. On YouTube?
The DVD.
DVD? Okay.
It covers both these episodes in one 30-minute or so episode.
Okay. Because we were looking for commentaries.
I think we have our own commentary. The Black, and then remember the Black Archive when we did the Sarah Jane Adventures episode, Enemy of the Bane. That's the first time that it is mentioned, and it is previous to the version we saw in the Day of the Doctor with the War Doctor. So it's nice that they're still using the Black Archive after all of that.
Yeah. And somebody get rid of that bomb under London. It's no good is going to come of that.
All right, going through the cast real quick, we have Ingrid Oliver coming back as Petronella Osgood, Gemma Redgrave as Kate Lethbridge Stewart, Nicholas Ashby as Etoni. He is the guy in the beginning that is, he kills himself with force lightning, the Zygon. He was the landlord in Sherlock Season 3 episode The Sign of 3, and he's done various Doctor Who audio dramas. And I remember him from the series Chewing Gum. He played Keys, which is like a weird old guy, so he kind of fits that role. Aidan Cook, Tom Wilton, and Jack Parker played the Zygons in costume, and Nicholas Briggs voices the Zygons. Since this season is mostly two-parters, we've saved our recommendations for now, the second episode, as well as if the promises set up in the first episode live up. So, the Zygon invasion and the Zygon inversion. Who are they good for, or more specifically, they are good for who? A new viewer, a casual viewer, a fan of the show, or a diehard?
All right. I'm going to say first off that I believe the second episode does live up to the first and maybe surpasses it a little bit because we got that meaty speech in the second episode. I would say this is probably good for a casual viewer. I would not start somebody with this. I mean, it's in the middle of the season. We don't really get to see a lot of the main Doctor Who kind of character stuff, like with introducing to the TARDIS or anything like that. I know the first time a lot of us watched it, we did not like these episodes, but that was from, a different time. So yeah, I'm going to go with fan, and that it does live up to the first episode. Or casual, excuse me. I'm going to go with casual. The second level, yeah.
Got it.
Thank you.
I say casual. I think someone who's casually invested in the show isn't going to be put off by the shortcomings. And I think, again, if you're not really, you don't have too much expectation, it's a fun sci-fi allegory of war, and the end scene is great, and he's really great throughout. It's funny because every time we have a new Doctor towards like the second or so season of that Doctor, I'm like, is this my favorite Doctor now? I'm just getting so used, but he's wonderful. But yeah, I think a new viewer, there's too much going on. It's not very well written. A fan will be slightly offended, and I think I don't know what to think of a diehard. Is a diehard someone who loves everything, or
regardless?
What's that? Regardless. Okay.
Regardless. I watched Star Trek Discovery.
Hey, first season, great. So I think casual. I think it's a fun 2-episode arc that's got enough for someone who's I like Doctor Who, and that's about it. I mean, I think the design of the Zygons, it's really good makeup. We actually didn't discuss that. I thought the quality of the makeup was fantastic. I thought, like, as far as the seamlessness of his face and the outfit and stuff like that, the design is absolutely ridiculous. And then I looked it up, and it was like, oh, they were just matching Classic Who.
They were.
Yeah.
So in matching Classic Who, I think they did a really great job.
Ooh. Well, I was leaning fan, but you, Albert and Josh, you make very good points for casual. I was leaning fan because I enjoyed these episodes. I watched them for the very first time, and I found the premise intriguing. But I don't think the second part lived up to the first part. I actually found the second part kind of boring. There were a few times where I just kind of like zoned out there, and I didn't watch it back to back either. Like, I had some time in between the 2 episodes, and the second one didn't hold my attention or as well as the first one did. To the point that it didn't live up, I am interested in hearing more of Alburn's theories of where he thought the first part was going, because I feel like those would be more compelling than what we got in the second part of these, and that we got in the second episode. So unfortunately, I don't think it lived up, but I am gonna put both of these episodes in the fan category.
Well, hopefully you'll be able to connect with Auburn after this Zoom. I don't know if that's possible. Just kidding.
He just moved across the country.
Well, there's Frank and then there's Frank, and we both think differently.
Oh, there's a lot more Franks than that.
I think it did live up to the first episode, and I think it tied in really well because it started off in the first episode with Amazing Grace, and that's what the whole ending was about. So I think it definitely fulfilled and followed up with it. Usually if we're divided, any of us are divided between two of our categories, they're next to each other. But this one, I'm similar to a lot of people where it's either casual or diehard. So we're skipping the fan on that one. So I think diehards are different than just, oh, they'll watch everything. It sounded more like they'll like everything, and they won't. And I think being a diehard, it's the inconsistencies that are just too much for this and the writing. So I don't think it's the best one for them. They're not the ones who are going to like it the most. I would go with casual because they don't know a lot of the history of it. And once you start with fan, then you do follow, you watch it through the whole episodes. You may not watch it again, and that's where we were. So I think the casual would be where I'd put this two-parter.
I'm going to say casual because diehards, I think, would be completely lost and not impressed. And I think fans would know enough to be like, stop it. And of course, the diehard's going to watch it regardless. I've always defined diehard as diehards don't like the episode, but they still have to watch it. There's just no choice. You have to watch everything Doctor Who. I used to say with Next Generation, the first 2 seasons, which are god awful, I had to watch the episodes because I have to know how they're screwing things up this week. And I didn't enjoy it, but I had to know what they were doing. So it's the same thing with this. When I say diehard, I don't think when it's a diehard for me, I've never liked the episode ever, but I'm a diehard and I have to see it. So
Flash that it's made for them. It's like some of those episodes where so much about it. There's so many hidden meanings or Easter eggs that the diehard can get it. And so it is better for them because it is so rich in the lore. So, not just because they don't like it.
Yeah. Like the end of season 4 with Donna, you have to be a diehard to really love it.
Yeah.
Because you need to know
it's best
so
for them
much about
because there
everything.
is the information. Right.
Yeah. So that's a diehard loving moment. So I'm going to say casual, but whether it lives up, I'm going to cut the speech out. And to me, I say it's a wash. They're both the same. So does it live up? Yes, because it doesn't go down. They're on the same level. Fine. But then if you tag the speech in it, it exceeds it. But at the same time, having the speech there really points out that the other 80 minutes of the episode isn't that good. So it's just casual and it lives up.
So when I first watched this, I was a fan of the show, and I didn't like it, and that had stayed with me until rewatching this. And I think the time has been kind to it. I remember specifically not liking the ending of the first episode where Zygon Clara shoots the missile into the presidential plane. I was like, what is this show turned into? And then I forgot that this is where that good speech comes into in the season, in the story. So I remember the speech, but not where it came in. But also, I do like them bringing up the immigration issue with this being a allegory or metaphor, simile to that. And I think that's what good sci-fi does. And I think that's really why I like Kill the Moon, is that it makes me think about a woman's right to choose. But in here, I feel like the immigration story is not focused on enough, and it's not making me think beyond, we need to get to the plot. So as a fan, I didn't enjoy it the first go. As a diehard, I don't like these callbacks to classic Who that much. So I'm going to go for casual because, you can enjoy it without knowing the baggage that I bring along to an episode. I'll just say I think it lives up because they're both telling one story and the cliffhanger connects them well enough.
Oh yeah, instead of being like a day later.
Yeah. So that wraps up the Zygon Invasion and the Zygon Inversion. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll see you next time when the future becomes the present.
You just listened to an episode of Who Knew?
Our wonderful theme music is by Michael Grady.
Find him on Facebook at The Universe Explodes.
Additional music is by Damiel Paggio.
Additional music by Paul Ohlers.
All our episodes are engineered by Auburn, and you can find him at auburnbinkley.com.
You can also find this show in several places.
Follow us on Twitter at Who Knew Podcast.
Subscribe, review, and listen to us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Or on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/whoknewpodcast.
All our episodes are on whoknewpodcast.com.
Visit our Facebook page.
Please leave comments, reviews, and click like to support Who Knew Podcast.
To listen to our show on your Amazon Echo device, subscribe to us on Amazon Music,
And then ask your Amazon device to play your podcast subscriptions.
This podcast is inspired by Doctor Who.
The longest running sci-fi show in history.
And especially the revival spearheaded by Russell T. Davis.
Thanks to Russell, Sidney Newman,
Verity Lambert, Ron Grainer,
and all those involved in the adventures of our favorite Time Lord.
Your work continues to inspire and entertain.